what would the right brain get up to if it wasn't so like edited and shaped by the left hemisphere all the fucking time? What do we get up to? We get up to art. We get up to startups. We get up to like building really cool shit. We get up to like the most innovating, bleeding edge, cool things that happen in this world, right?
Kevin's like grounded masculine safety meets a weird realm-bending permission slip.
And Britta's like a wise and witchy Mary Poppins.
Yeah, it's better than therapy.
This stuff is way better than therapy.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
So much better than therapy.
It's better than therapy.
Better than therapy.
Oh, welcome back to the podcast, Fawn Miller. We had Fawn on.
Oh, you want to take it from the top? I didn't know if you were pausing for me.
You're good.
Thank you. We're really good at introductions, Britta. I realize that.
Really, like, so good at them.
Like I want to. It's like I want to like slow down even because like this is like the one part of the podcast that feels the most like clunky or the most like every time it's the most just like sometimes it, but just like, and there's a part of me that's like, how do you want to fucking do introduction? You know, I just want to like, how can we have it feel the most like just organic? Just like, okay, we're rolling. Okay, we're talking now, and just like a conversation. You know, that's what comes to mind over here.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
Keep going, Kev.
Yeah.
Did we start? Wait, did the podcast start? Okay, we're back with Fawn Miller.
Yeah, we recorded an episode with Fawn back in June called Designed to Thrive, Harmonizing the Left Brain and Right Brain. And of all the guests we've had on so far, Fawn, you're the one that I've gotten the most like requests to have back. And the most feedback of, oh my gosh, I listened to that episode so many times. That was so impactful. Can you have Fawn back on? Like, that was so interesting. I want to hear more from you guys all together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's such an honor to be back. And it's such an honor to know that. I'm like just beaming from the inside out right now to hear that people have found it valuable or at least enjoyed listening to it and that they've been asking for more of it. That's so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So this emerged partly from that. And at the end of that episode, we'd thrown around the idea of watching The Divided Brain, which you've watched many times, this documentary featuring Ian McGilchrist's work. And then so Kevin and I watched it, and then we all watched it together with some friends and clients last night. And this conversation is kind of like a continuation in this exploration of left, right brain, curiosity, understanding what's possible. What do we do about it from here?
Super excited to dive in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's interesting? I'm going to maybe pull back the curtain a little bit on the elephant in the room around our introduction stumbling that just happened. You can edit this out, of course, but it wants to be said. Britta, back before our first podcast, we were talking about introductions. And so I was writing this introduction for you guys for this podcast. And it occurred to me how left hemisphered ordinary or typical introductions are. Like when people are introduced on podcasts or introduced on, you know, in whatever capacity, introductions feel so left hemisphere. And there's this way of like creating the structure, you know, which is important, of course. The information is helpful. But I think, Britta, you and I kind of kicked around the ball of like, what if we just go with the flow? What if we just right hemisphere it from the beginning and see what happens? And that was a really fun thing to see. And then it kind of just happened organically as we started, which was cool.
Yeah. Left brain intros are not my favorite.
Yeah.
Very reductionistic. It's like, I feel like if I'm doing a left brain introduction of anyone or myself, it's like no matter what I say, it doesn't quite capture the essence. And I like words, but it just feels it's missing something. It's like missing experience and aliveness and fullness.
That's like what the left brain misses, right? Is that? Yeah. Okay, so how do we weave this in from So we had that conversation, and then and like part of this conversation is like sort of like this. So now what? It's like going deeper. Yeah, like what else do we want to talk about? Where do we want to go?
Yeah. One of the curiosities that's been really up and alive for me since our first conversation has been around your experiences of having come into this work and this information. I shouldn't say work, this coming into contact with this information and then integrating, seeing what it implies and experiencing what it implies and then integrating it into your lives and your work. I've been really curious about how your processes have been since the first podcast. And then of course, Britta, since you and I started to, have conversations around it even before that. Because this work, I think as with anything, truly transformational, this research, this information is very informational. It's very conceptual, and there's a really satisfying conceptual aspect of it. But then there's it doesn't really do anything if it's not embodied and applied and explored and experienced. So part of the question of like now what that we'll be circling into and around today in our conversation will be around the like how do we integrate from conceptual informational into applied, into embodied, into experiential. So I would love to hear anything that you guys want to share around how that's gone for you or how that's been for you.
Yeah. Overall, what I'm seeing and continuing to experience and deepen in, both for myself and in connection with others, is like the more I'm orienting towards or coming from or living in more right brain awareness and leadership, everything feels better. And like I actually could just stop there. Like everything feels better. And also, it's like everything feels better. Things tend to go better. Like things tend to unfold more naturally, effortlessly, without added drama or like meaning making on top. Like to the point where I'm like, if ever things aren't feeling great, is like, does all that mean is that I'm like really leading from my left brain?
Right.
Which I'm curious to explore that more in this conversation too. Like, am I being overly reductionistic about that even? But it's like I went on a trip with a friend I was telling you guys last night, and we went to Cornwall and just like wandered around the coast in this like beautiful weather and beautiful landscape. And my only intention for the trip was I just want to hang out in right brain land as much as possible. And the environment also like helped, made that I think even more like it supported that very effortlessly. And like those were a fantastic couple days. And I didn't like do much. It wasn't like, well, I achieved a lot or I had all these breakthroughs or I was just like, wow, just like really out here, really present, enjoying life, nowhere to get to, past and future have less heaviness or weight to them, like less importance.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, I feel really curious about the like integrating all. I can imagine how someone might be listening and then might think like, oh yeah, well that's all well and great when you're like not being productive, or oh you were on a
Yeah.
also what I've seen, the last 6 months, partly from this understanding, this body of work and just all the other shit that I'm exploring, is just like I can actually live in that kind of place where I'm wandering and hiking, and my intention is more to like enjoy, to like the simplicity of just follow, like moving from a place of enjoyment and ease and what's inspiring, and less like noticing more like, wow, I try to get it right a lot. And like, oh, that's that left brain mode. Oh, that's that. And it's just becoming clearer and clearer how, I'm thinking of the conversation you and I, just the personal conversation you and I had, Fawn, just I became more aware of just like, wow, yeah, I'm like, there's still a lot of like managing of myself that's going on. And as I'm doing less and less of that, it's like that same thing Britta's describing. And I'm also seeing that in when I'm, quote, being productive in my work days. It's like I feel better, and it also goes way better. And it seems like things are reorganizing. I'm noticing in my business too that, like I'm sort of like not fully sure what it's becoming yet, but there's stuff where I'm like where I'm like, oh, I would have normally stepped in with my left brain to try to, and I'm just like, no, I don't need to do that. And like, I don't fully know what this is evolving into. And the way these relationships are unfolding is different and way more fluid, not so professional, not so, and so fucking clearly, just like, oh my God, this feels so much better. This is how I want to live. And I'm much more open and curious. Like, how is this going to unfold? I think two of the stuff we talked about, Fawn, of like the finite game, infinite game stuff, and the like, to what's it like to live from that mode of like, there's nothing at stake here.
Yeah.
There's nothing to lose. There's no such thing as a good outcome or a bad outcome. Like, no, really. And like the freedom when not just an idea, but to like actually touch in on that space. And then it's just like, oh, it's available all the time.
Wow. Wow. It's a beautiful willingness to experiment in that space when our conditioning, your conditioning, I'm going to say our conditioning because we all kind of grew up in the same, for the most part, kind of cultural milieu. The willingness to explore this very essentially kind of in a direction that feels like it would put a lot at stake, right? It feels like it might put a lot at risk insofar as releasing the stronghold on the need for certainty or control or rightness or having the answers, getting it right, being right, doing right, right in huge air quotes.
Yeah.
To be willing to explore what might it be like if I allow I think we've used the language of like the helicopter parenting, right? The like self-imposed helicopter parenting. What might it be like if I kind of excuse that, notice it, just like excuse it and allow myself to be in the unknown, the experientially known, but perhaps conceptually unknown. It's so awesome, Kevin. And to hear like, but for both of you to hear the ways that this plus the understanding and the gestalt of everything else that you have and foundationally and practically to hear that it really has allowed for more seeing, and it sounds like more openness, like more of like a felt openness or felt
more
spaciousness.
openness, more like clear, like more free. And an awareness of like whatever is like, there's stuff emerging in my life and in my business. There's some like projects that are starting that I'm like, I kind of know what they are. And I'm like, oh, this was here 5 years ago and it's coming back. But it's just like, it's this amorphous, like I don't fully know, but also like I can just feel that like, oh, this wants to be I'm thinking of the Michael Levin work too. Just like one of the things I got from him was that you can maybe help me out with like but my interpretation of it was he was saying like also just in biology, like the thing, like I think Rumi says it in some poems of like what you are seeking is also seeking you. And one thing I heard in Michael Levin's work, which was like, no, really also at like a biological level, like that's sort of like, that's how it works. That like what idea I'm like seeking to get more in touch with is also seeking to get in touch with me. And this frame has been so helpful to see that as like, oh, that as like a metaphor, that just seems like how it works. And my job is not to control what's happening or to force or to make things happen, but to like the question of just like I've been bringing to clients more and myself is like, yeah, like what's like wanting to come into greater focus right now, and then stuff just starts to come into greater focus, and it's really helpful, and it's
That's
fun.
cool.
It's more fun. I want to say too, one other thing is like, cause you commented like, wow, your courage or whatever to trust, have faith or whatever you said about that. I'm like, if this was like 3 years ago, I was like leaning into this kind of stuff as well. And it was absolutely terrifying at first.
Wow.
Like there was moments of just like, I remember being on a call with Michael when I was working with Michael, and I was so caught up, and I was, it was 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. And it was just like the wisdom was clear that it was like, dude, like, yeah, you're done working for today. Go for a hike. And I mean, those patterns in me were, nah. And I mean, I was feeling terror for 20, 30 minutes driving to the hike. Like it's like that left brain part of me thought I was going to die if I don't keep working. And so I guess I'm partly sharing to like just compassion, or anyone who's listening and kind of where they're at, to like, doesn't have to be a like full surrender experiment kind of thing. There's like, it's like you can find where's like a way to, push the edge a little bit to find your sweet spot if you want to play with this. Yeah.
Yeah,
and there's much more
sure.
of this experience is like of me just like sharing, and I don't fucking know where I'm going, and I don't even know if it's totally making sense, and it feels more like really, really, really good, and like I'm falling a bit, but then more and more the awareness of like, oh no, I'm not falling right now, I'm flying. Like that's more what it is. And there's still like a little bit of that control stuff comes in, and like, am I talking too much? Does this make sense? Like, but I just kind of and it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Hence the more freedom. And then seeing more that like my job as like coach is becoming much more clear. Like, oh, my job is to be free. Mm-hmm. Like my job isn't like help people. It isn't it's like, yeah, that stuff like that happens. But like really my job is to be free.
Right. Right. Because the degree to which you're not is the degree to which you're bringing something into their experience that isn't their experience too. Right. I mean, this is super coachy, but like coachy world stuff, but I think it can be extrapolated and is extrapolated into life. Like however much we are superimposing our thinking, our conditioned thinking, our habitual thinking, our unhelpful habitual conditioned thinking, to whatever degree we're superimposing that into the present moment is the degree to which we are not in relationship with the present moment, which means that we're not able to access the data of the present moment. We're not able to access the intelligence of our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, our mind, body, like all aspects of our intelligence. We're living in a replay or some kind of a synthesis of imagination or future tripping and past tripping here, right? And it disconnects us from our brilliance in the moment. So this is, I mean, it's kind of it sounds paradoxical, but like the degree to which we are willing to be open to maybe our thinking isn't the highest contact with aliveness or intelligence or insight or innovation or invention or relating. Like, if we can be willing to allow that to just for even for a moment in an experimental capacity to like, okay, like what if I just let my thinking kind of hang over here, go watch some imaginary TV, and here I am in the present moment with whatever it is that I'm interfacing with, my partner, my work, my employees, right? Life, a hike. Um, we get to be lucid. I mean, it's really kind of like a gradient of lucidity that we're talking about, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's just so misunderstood that the less we superimpose, the more intimately in contact with our intelligence we are, right? And that doesn't mean that we like. Of course, we bring in, and that's actually where our genius can enter. That's where our brilliance, our genius, our intellect, our cognition, our intuition, like it can enter through the portal of the now when we remove whatever might be getting in the way. And this is, I think I probably talked about this on the first podcast, but like this is substantiated by the flow research and the like peak performance research and the neuroscience around like this is well evidenced in the literature that the more present we are, the better we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep. It's so, I just love like the simplicity of it is just every time I just even talking about this now, it's so amazing. It's so beautiful. It's so profound. It's so like I was reading in books 20 years ago that it's like about being present, that's the secret sort of thing. And it's like, no, it's just like be here now, and it's like, no, really. And also like, oh, like what that mean. And like there's also like a process and to really be here and to do the work to see all of the stuff that gets in the way and to be able to see it for what it is and let go of it so that I can actually be more here, relating with here instead of relating to my thinking about here. It's like, am I relating to you two right now in this conversation? Or am I relating to like my ideas I have about you and I don't see that? And whoa.
Yeah.
And to the degree which I'm trying to control this moment, and I'm like you're saying, like having stuff on it and agendas or just these different filters that get in the way, it's becoming so clear to me just how much though having one of those on, not realizing you having it on, it distorts the wisdom, it distorts genius. And you take one of them off and then suddenly it's like, oh my God, this interaction is going completely different. I just got so much better at the thing that I'm doing. And I didn't learn more. I didn't take more stuff on. I didn't learn new skills. I actually like let go of something that I was like, that was in my eye that I didn't know was in my eye. And then you guys better come in here sooner. I feel like I got so much fucking energy in my body that I could just keep, I'm like, I could talk for 6 hours right now about this stuff.
Me too. You know what's funny? I'm very aware right now that my dog Toby is at the sliding glass door and he wants to go lay in the sun because he loves to lay in the sun, and he's making these really weird moaning noises like "Rawr," like mom let me out, and I'm here, but I'm also like, Toby, please stop Toby, just please stop making your little growly sounds. And it occurs to me that that's kind of how it is walking around the world with the left hemisphere. It's like, I want to be here. I want to be here. But there's this thing that's like, but you should be better. You should be doing the dishes. You should be perfect. Right? You should. And like, I'm like literally going to let him outside. But it's like such a great metaphor for like, oh yeah, I can like let that outside. And I don't even need to trust that I'm going to be okay coming back to you guys in this moment to have this conversation. That just like makes so much sense that of course it would be easier for me to be present.
Yeah. And then it's just like part of the thing and part, yeah. I'm seeing the same, yeah, whenever you want, go, yeah. I'm seeing the same thing, Britta, with, maybe Fawn can still hear us, with like body, like with sound, movement, body expression. Were you able to hear, Fawn? Are you still in the, yeah. Like how I could be sitting here in this conversation. I know when we started talking about, it's like, oh yeah, free to just let it, like part of that for me is like, I've done so much work about like body and movement stuff, but I can notice like, oh, on podcasts and because we're doing this thing, I've noticed in like, oh, there's less freedom for me to be able to like just be like, oh, but my body wants to just like make noises like, and it's like, you shouldn't do, the left brain is like, you shouldn't do that. We're like, oh, and it's like, who the fuck is saying I shouldn't do this? And now I'm doing this and this is here. And it's like, whoa, what is this energy that lives in me? Wow, there's a lot of aliveness here. And like, oh my God, this is like more of me. Mm-hmm. Yet if I'm like doing the other thing and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling some tension in my neck but like I need to sit up straight and like have a conversation a certain way, and I'm not allowed to just like be like, mm-hmm. And then I think of like we were talking about like,
and like I'm swaying now, I'm like, oh yeah, it feels nicer. Yeah. Many arms that are being wiggled and bodies moved. Yeah.
I think about how much I've had this thing around Zoom calls where I'm like, I don't want to do Zoom calls. And on some level, there's something there. And I'm also like, how much of it is because when I'm on Zoom calls, I don't give myself permission to move as much. And this body loves to move. This body doesn't want to be sitting with my head here and and I need to be looking at you guys the whole time and I'm not free to, it's like, well, that's bullshit. I could actually just like get up and dance in the middle of this thing and then be like, well, I'm going to listen to what you guys talk now because I'm going to dance for a little bit. And I realize I can actually do that. So I'm going to dance for a little bit and I'll listen to you guys.
Perfect. It's funny, Fawn, back to your question of like, what have you been noticing since our last conversation and yourself and with clients? One like anecdotal noticing that's been happening, I've noticed with me and like clients and friends, this pattern of neck and shoulder tension being an indicator that we're like overly in our left brain. And it's just anecdotal, a couple handful of people, but it's like, whoa, that's been like such a sign to me if I'm feeling tense, and that maybe it's other body places for other people. But for me, that's where I tend to like orient towards holding tension. And it's like, oh, as soon as I'm going into this overly left brain dominant space, like my body gives me this cue. And as soon as I like pop back into or like relax into more of a right brain leading awareness, like it softens and my body just takes care of itself. Like I actually don't need a corrective bodywork experience. It's more just like surrender into well-being, like more in that direction. And there's been something so cool for me. I think I spoke to it some on the last conversation we had on the podcast around this, about like all of these things I've touched and experienced and had so much like grounding and rooting in on a more, I don't know, philosophical or spiritual level. Like, no, like well-being and wisdom, that's who we are. Having this neuroscience, like brain understanding of it, that it's almost like, oh, it's not just something I'm connected to that is me and is my nature spiritually and it's outside of me. Like, yes, all of that. And it's like literally half of my brain that I can just put my awareness into and then orient from. Like, I actually don't need to have some kind of spiritual epiphany or insight. It's just like, no, it's literally wired into you.
Yeah.
And just like sometimes when I'm like, to use a metaphor I know we all use, like lower on the ladder of consciousness, sometimes that's like an easier shift for me of just like, Britta, your right brain didn't go anywhere though. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't leave you. Like, nobody lobotomized you in the last couple hours or couple days. Like, you can pop over into that place.
Awesome. Yeah. And isn't it, well, for me at least, and I think for a lot of people where like in conversations around the understanding around the hemispheres, like everything we're pointing to here, that the noticing can and often is the switch in and of itself. Like, oh, I'm here on the ladder right now. I'm tense in my shoulders right now. I'm ruminating on imagined catastrophes right now, right? Whatever, or all of it at once. The noticing of that can pop us out of it. And I think what also is really helpful in that equation is understanding that when we don't need to do anything about it, that we don't need to do anything about it because we are literally not only designed to thrive, as we talked about last time, but everything in our system is just waiting to to be in the wiggly movement that Kevin's in right now, like to be in the feeling of aliveness versus contraction versus self-editing versus etc. So it's really helpful to know that noticing and to experience that the noticing it's like a wake up of like, for me at least, like, oh, right, I am super in a not helpful place right now, for example, right? Or I'm just like, okay, cool. And to be able to like relax into the noticing of what's happening from this objective, in this kind of objective way, in and of itself creates some release, some relaxation, and or a realization of, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more around the themes of what does this mean in like practical in the real world, corporate, et cetera. But like that the stress or the contraction that I'm feeling, oftentimes for me, it's a desire for aliveness, like it's a desire for energy. It's a tapping into the energy, but just kind of like misunderstood or misallocated because the right hemisphere or the left hemisphere is the one that's like in charge in the moment, for lack of a better term. So to just recognize that everything is happening to point us toward and to help us naturally reorient into the state that is most helpful in the moment in real time. Pretty awesome. Kevin, how's your dancing?
Feels great. Feels great. Yeah. And it's just bringing more stuff up for me of just like, yeah, what are the, like with like rules and, just like, I'm like, man, how often am I in a coaching session with a client and dancing wants to happen through me, but because I'm doing coaching, I don't allow it. And I'm like, started like, whoa, where's that? What rules do I have there? How does that work? What's like those ideas are kind of percolating, just like sort of challenging and kind of being open to the not knowing of just like, wait, what's really wanting to happen? Like how much, I think you guys get what I'm kind of saying, or maybe you don't. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was something standing out to me watching the documentary because so much of it was like, well, showing the research and how it evolved and then also societally, like how this is playing out on this like big societal cultural scale. And Kevin and I were talking about this, like watching such a left brain oriented world in such a short series of minutes on this documentary. It's like, we didn't have to do it this way. Like, we just like operate with the world as if all of these systems for like the way we do money and the way we build buildings and structures and hierarchy and what's appropriate and what's not, and how we do medicine and the stock market, as if like, well, of course. And
With
it's
the
like,
entire social domain. We made it up.
it's made
And-
up, and it's made up in such a shadow of the left brain way is kind of how I'm thinking about it. Because like the left brain is like this beautiful tool we have, but it's like took over. It's just gotten like out of control with its like authority and surety. And yeah, looking at the world and being like, this, yeah, all of these rules we made up, and then we're all so afraid to break them.
So one thing that's here for me now is like I've been unfolding this process very right brain way. This is partly why I love process work, which has been a huge influence on my work, Britta's work as well. It's very right brain. It's very shamanic. And I've been unfolding this process with dreams and body movement and emotional stuff. And one of the things there is like I think as a child, I learned to repress my anger. Like certain, some quality of energy, it like wasn't safe. So I kind of pushed that down as I'm letting that up more and moving and I've gone through so much with it, but this like these new layers of it. Sometimes when I really go into that, it's like this thing in me that like it unfolded to like, it's like, I'm not even angry. I just want permission to go fucking crazy. And I'm noticing that's showing up here on this call with you two. I'm like, oh, that's like living in me right now. And my left brain's still a little afraid of like, wait, can I just go crazy? It's like, I'm like, I get, what's that? Is it Nietzsche or with the quote of like what's that quote? Those who were seen dancing to the music, crazy, you know what quote I'm
We're
talking
thought
about?
crazy by those who couldn't hear the music.
Yeah. And I'm like in this moment sort of being like, wait, like if I were to really allow the dance that seems to be wanting to come through me I'm like, oh, I'm afraid of being perceived as insane and crazy. And yet I also know it seems like part of my unique, one of the ways wisdom flows through me is the rule breaker, is the one who's like does stuff really different. And that's like the kind of comedy I'm the most attracted to is also the kind of stuff that's like so far, like Andy Kaufman, like that kind of stuff where it's like he's almost not, it's like, what the fuck is that? But it's just so, and I'm like, that lives in me and it wants to come out more. And it's like, wow. And I can notice how I can even be like looking to permission from like, well, wait, are you two okay? Like, wait, are other coaches doing it? Instead of like, oh, fuck, I might have to be the crazy guy first before somebody, that video, that YouTube video, the guy crazy dancing at the concert. And then it's like that first follower. And then this movement starts. And I'm in this moment like, oh, fuck, I might have to be the crazy guy waiting for like the first follower to come.
I want to be in that movement. I might have to start it. I don't know.
That's here for me.
Oh.
That's fucking awesome, Kevin. I love all of that. I love all of that. That again, your willingness to explore, your willingness to check in, tune in, listen, and then express. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yes, please. More of that.
Thank you. That's really nice that feels like, I feel very touched by the way that you're meeting that in me. Like it feels, it feels tender and feel touched in this moment.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So, I mean, on that note, I realized really early on in my coaching career that I'm like really unconventional and like unwilling to left hemisphere my life and my business, like in ways that are important and like the life force wants to come through in these other ways that are non-conventional. And I attribute I guess I attribute my willingness to kind of always dance in that direction to, I think that's just kind of how I came into the world. And also this might sound funny, but I promise I'm going to bring it around. I was fortunate enough to fall in love with electronic music in my teens through Napster, and I lived in the middle of nowhere in Idaho, and I had no idea that there was this whole big world of electronic music, like raves and stuff going on. I had no idea. So when I moved to California at 18 years old on my own, and I was like, oh, I wonder if there's electronic music. And then I was in Santa Cruz, Bay Area, like early 2000s, like rave culture, festival culture was like, ooh. And I found myself, I remember vividly, I was walking down the street one night and I heard some drum and bass, like really good drum and bass coming out of this like place on the street. And I was like, no way. Oh my gosh. And, I'm super naive, innocent, moving from small town Idaho to California. And I'm like, do, 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 do. And I like walk by the place and I look in and it's dark in there, but there are people dressed in ways I have never seen before, or not dressed in ways that I've never seen before. And they're dancing and moving in ways that I was just like mesmerized, and I paid the $5 to get in, and I just walked in there and it just like landed. It was like, yes, these are my people. This is what's up. And forevermore, I have been, kind of a part of that culture, less so in the past like 8 years. But from that point, and like being in an environment that was fully permissioning of expression in every way. And then, from there, getting into the festival culture, Burning Man, raves, Burning Man, and so I kind of like evolved with that culture and that scene evolving. And I would notice how cultivating and nurturing it was for me. And I didn't do drugs. I didn't like, I didn't need to. I was like, eventually I did, but I would bring my friend, I would like recruit my friends into this scene for the sake of them being able to experience the freedom and the novelty and the connection that's available in that particular world. And, so I would be like the one to bring my friends to, like just organize everything and the camps and whatever. And that really, I think, set the stage in really important ways for the way that I've oriented with my business and with coaching and with clients and with my program and my retreats and everything I do is this, I hope, this space of undoing and letting go and realizing the ways in which we self-edit and we're conditioned, and the left hemisphere has, society, corporate, parents, school, everything that's shoved down our throats has restricted us into these we're like these infinite, incredible vessels in the like sculpting of the world that we've grown up through. And so creating spaces, coming back to, and this is all related to what you just shared, Kevin, is holding space, whether it's with one person, whether it's for ourselves, whether it's for our communities, holding space in spaces that are completely conducive and encouraging of that freedom and of that expression in a safe way, setting containers, obviously, or it might not be obvious, but setting containers. And even if the container is like, you do whatever you want, but like bringing in costume, bringing in improv, bringing in dance church, which I've yet to talk to Kevin about, but Britta's aware of it. Like just bringing in these ways to simply be and like shake loose and allow for the awkwardness and the like, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I do the wrong thing? What if nobody likes what I have to say? Like all of that, like cringy stuff, it happens still. And it happens in this space that is a total invitation to like whatever happens, whatever's wanting to happen in the moment. And I think, and I'm not trying to like, this isn't about me necessarily at all. It's more about a conversation and an encouragement to lean into that, to be a part of creating these kinds of spaces, because that's really the right brain. What would the right brain get up to if it wasn't so like edited and shaped by the left hemisphere all the fucking time? What do we get up to? We get up to art. We get up to startups. We get up to like building really cool shit. We get up to like the most innovating, bleeding edge, cool things that happen in this world, right, are oftentimes like kind of in contrast to the left hemisphere. But there's certainly, I think, like cultivated in a space where there's fertile ground for that. And I think so, Kevin, yes, like I encourage anybody who wants to like play with, whether you're a coach or in any environment, like play with what could it be like if I just kind of like named a few things that might be new to the setting. Like, hey, I know that as we've been coaching, we've been on video for, all of our sessions. I'm shifting into trying something else, off camera so that I can take walks, or so that, or on video coaching sessions, like as long as it's not disruptive, I might get up and start like moving some energy and dancing that, right? But like, what do we get up to when we give ourselves permission to communicate with each other, relate with each other about what's wanting to be expressed, and then actually expressing that? That's what's exciting to me.
Me too. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
You were
Thanks.
crying a lot while Fawn was sharing.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. What are you feeling? What's happening?
It was like like undoing is happening. Like, yeah. Like, I mean, if I were to say more about it, it's like just the arc of this thing that wants to be crazy, whatever that energy is that I spoke to earlier, that wanted to dance and then for that to be, I mean, it's like, so it really touches me to lean into that in a context as well. Like, we're fucking recording on a podcast. I didn't know this is where we were fucking going. And I'm actually like totally okay with it and like love that. Like, this is actually like one of the things I'm listening to podcasts more, and I see them start to go to these places, and then they're like, but that's not what this podcast is. And I'm like, no, I want, and then it's like, well, here we are. And then to just be celebrated by Fawn, and then hearing Fawn's experiences of just being free and being, that direction, just like, and the more permissioning for just the like, it's like the direction that my being wants to go in is going there more, and being met by people that are like, yes, this is awesome, and like more, and like, and then, and then just some grief moving, hearing Fawn's experiences of I didn't even remember what they were, but it was like of freedom in a way, and just, some of the layers of just like how much, like when you named that moment, when you named Fawn, like, yeah, when we get up to this, we like create art and startups and we build things, that. And I'm just like, it's like some grief for the 20-year-old, the 25-year-old, the 16-year-old, the 8-year-old, just like all those versions of me that just fucking needed somebody to be like, what's fucking happening in you? And how can we like express that? And how much that didn't happen, and how much just pain and suffering and health issue, just like all the fucking shit from that, And then also, wow, I'm in a space now where like, I'm on our fucking podcast and I'm dancing and I'm crying and we're having this conversation, and I'm just like, fuck yeah, I want so much more of this, and like so much more of this.
Hell
it's
yes.
just grief to like say that and just be with you two and see you two just here with me being like, yes, and it's just like, there's more, The jokey part of me is like, this is not how my childhood was. Like it was a lot of control. Like it was mostly control and shame and forcing and you should be this way and all that kind of stuff. There's no, when we were watching the documentary, yes, there was that line, Britta, you mentioned it when we were chatting yesterday of when they're in with like the drama students in the documentary, and just the line that the guy says something about. Do you remember what he said?
Yeah, it's like the drama teacher helping some of the actors understand their character more. And he says the thing to understand, he's talking about this character, is like all men, he wants permission to leave.
And that just like clicked for me in that moment of like I didn't do drama. And I'm like, oh, like the real me would have fucking loved, like my essence would have so much rather done drama than some of the shit I did. But I was more, and I had like no idea of like that, the wisdom, even just like, I'm like 40 and I'm watching that. And I'm like, I didn't even know that's what drama was of like, and I'm like, that is really valuable. That would have been a really valuable education to be 19, 20, whatever. And like being like, wait, what? All men are wanting like permission to leave. What's that about? It took me till I was probably like in my mid 30s and getting into all this like self-development coaching stuff to even be aware of like, oh, like giving yourself permission is a thing you can do, and you can have permission to leave. And we men struggle, people struggle to give themselves permission to leave. Like, oh yeah, and it's like, and let's cut the arts programs out of the schools. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. The feeling I keep having in these last, I don't know, 15 minutes is like, it's like like the word hostage keeps coming to mind. It's like being taken hostage. It's like our left brain dominant culture like takes this like right brain naturalness and freedom hostage. And it's like, nope, we're going to just like hold you over here in like this little box land.
And then, oh, you're depressed. Let's give you a pill to fix that, instead of like, it's a whole other rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So, okay, this is somewhat of a pivot, but can we talk some about like what's awesome about the left brain? We did it a little bit on the last podcast, but I can hear like without that context, there can almost, it's like what we're not saying is like right brain good, left brain bad, like not that. Like left brain is this like awesome tool. Why? How come?
Yeah. Thank you. Kevin, I'm so moved right now by everything you just shared. Britta, I'm holding your query right now as well. Kevin, I'm so moved by your expressing of all of that, I could like that energy that moved through you in your expression is so palpable, so real. And I know, because I've worked with probably hundreds of people now that have such a similar sentiment, a similar energy in realizing and recognizing like what the actual fuck, like there's the recognition, there's the grieving, there's the waking up, there's the undoing, but like at the core of it, there's this a simultaneity, it feels like, of really grokking the infinite possibility of our humanity and grieving that which has been stifled and unallowed up until now, or up until and may continue to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So many people, I mean, there's the humanity in what you're sharing is so rich and relatable, and it's a gift to everybody that you shared what you shared, because it's certainly not, and I don't mean this in a dismissive way, I mean in the opposite way, it's not unique.
Yeah.
Right. It's
not. I don't hear it dismissive at all. Yeah. It feels nice it actually feels very good and integrated in a way of like the seeing and acknowledging of of what's happening in me, and also the yes, and like, hey, and this is in, I'm just seeing more and getting more connected to like how much this is, personal and impersonal, and feel like I'm connecting more to like like, what's the thing you'd be willing to die for, to the thing bigger than, it's like this kind of stuff. It's like this. It's like this kind of freedom.
And I appreciate your allowing of the grief. I mean, grief is such a loaded word, but I think I'm, you're seeing what you're pointing to, and I feel what you're pointing to in acknowledging, like, this isn't about just like, like, oh, it's just my thinking that it sucks that I was so controlled as a child. Like, no, like that did really fucking suck. Like that was no fun.
Yeah.
And allowing the like, kind of the mourning, maybe mourning is a bit of a, also like woven in there of like, oh my gosh, like I've been doing my best and feeling like I'm not doing fantastic for so long, and because of this externally manufactured fucking matrix that we live in. And in awakening to that, there's like a, oh my gosh, and also like a, like it's just so much around that. And if for me, if I let myself get into my thinking about all of that, it can be really like, I can get really like kind of anarchistic in my demeanor, or which is fine too. But thank you. So I just really want to acknowledge how beautiful that is, and also what a gift really it is to everybody, because I really feel like to some degree or extent we all feel what you feel in your expression of that. Yeah.
Feels really nice to receive that. Feels like to this spot, to this, like, to whatever that touches in me and my being, it just feels like so fucking good to receive and be with. It's like, wait, and like I get this, but like on some level, it's like on some level to just like feel and experience the like, wait, you're telling me this is a gift? Would like, and this is like the thing that's been stifled, that I've been holding back, and there's like to just be in the direct experience of like, and it's like I know that intellectually, but also just feel the acknowledgement of like, and the knowing of like, yes, that's a gift. And I'm like, wait, the thing that that actually just wants to come out of me, the free, messy, that thing is a gift. Oh, sign me up. Like I've got plenty of gifts to get. Like, feels good.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
It reminds me of music has come to me a couple of times in this conversation. And Kevin, and you and I are musicians, and Britta is a budding chimist. But I think about all the arts, but music, because it is my artistic obsession or channel vehicle. And I think, I don't know why, but I always think about Led Zeppelin. Like Led Zeppelin occurs to me and as like songwriters, right? So there's like being a musician, which is learning to play an instrument or learning music theory, etc. And then there's like being a songwriter, being a conduit for what's coming through. And that expression is entirely unpredictable for most people, and it's never the same way twice, but it's like it's unpredictable, it's spontaneous, it's intuitive, except for Bach maybe and Mozart. No. But even for them, music is such a really helpful, like, I don't know, connection point for me, even in a conceptual capacity, to recognize the value of expression, of authentic expression, of expression that is sincere and honest and unbridled and uninhibited. And Britta, I'm kind of like circling into your question here as well. Like the value of the left hemisphere is that we wouldn't be able to make music without the left hemisphere. Like the left hemisphere is so absolutely necessary or at least what the functionality of the left hemisphere and how it generates our reality is so helpful and necessary for the entirety of our flourishing, our thriving, our expression. So I'm so glad that you brought that question to the table, Britta, in terms of like, yeah, but what about like, what's it good for? Because it can sound like really, really like, biased. I remember this moment when I was, when I lived in the tiny village down the coast that I lived in. I would go on this run every morning into the jungle. And I live in Mexico. I don't know if I mentioned that on the first podcast, but I live in Mexico, and I would run into the jungle and up these stairs, these like stone stairs that were kind of randomly in the jungle that led somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I would run there every morning as that was my classroom in a sense. Like whenever I have questions or things on my mind that I'm working out or trying to figure out, I'll like go into nature, like immerse myself and like ask nature, like, or just observe, what does nature do? And I remember like the moment of the click of the value of the left hemisphere. I was listening to probably some really great house music. And I remember like it all kind of coming together in this realization of, oh my gosh, everything that the left hemisphere does really well is awesome when it's in support of the right hemisphere.
Yes.
Like I just saw it. I was like, holy shit. Like the right hemisphere is awesome, but like the right hemisphere plus the left hemisphere supporting it in the ways that it does, like creating form and being able to focus and creating like structure and being able to identify things and to have a sense of self, like everything that it is. And you used the word like the shadow of the left hemisphere earlier to kind of describe when it's like in charge, so when the left hemisphere, when things are in balance, the left hemisphere, thank God. And I remember just having this moment of like, I think I like stopped and I looked around and I was like, oh my gosh, if the jungle had no structure, if like cells in these leaves had no like structure or like understanding of like how to organize and like orient, and I know I'm like definitely anthropomorphizing human brains into plants right now, but fundamentally there may not be that big of a difference, going back to Mike 11. But recognizing that, thank God for the left hemisphere. Like I plan, I organize, like all these things that it's incredibly helpful for, and sense making and wayfinding in the world and creating in the world. It's not mutually exclusive, nor should it be right hemisphere or bust. It's the harmony that makes it. It's just like in a song. It's just like, I mean, solos are great, but like, what would Stairway be? I mean, Stairway is a solo, but then it's like, and like the rest of the song comes in and it's like supported by the harmonies of everything. And so that's like for those who are, recognizing the conditioning of the left hemisphere superiority in their lives or in their environments. It's not that we want to, again, like, even exploring this to the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere is like yielding different ways of wanting to talk about it or approach it. But we want to be, and going back to like how does it feel? We want to be tuning in with how does this feel for me right now? Does this feel generative? Does this feel engaging? Does this feel energizing? Does this feel, am I in an orientation of like, we just know when we know? Or am I feeling contracted, stressed out, And the left hemisphere can be super helpful in supporting us, and is very helpful in supporting us in our thrive mode in right hemisphere orientation. So, those were like kind of three themes like mashed into one there with my story and music, and but it is a really exciting thing to realize, oh, like I'm type A and I'm super organized, or like I don't know the archetypes as well as you guys do around the luminous archetypes that you have worked with, but like it's exciting to know that the left hemisphere dominant ways of being or operating that are kind of maybe innate or more first nature for us, that those are like welcome into the party of the bigger picture of the harmony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, like the harmony strikes me as God mode.
Yeah.
It's like right brain leading and the left brain bringing all of its like magic and structure and all of it in service of like a bigger holistic seeing and leading and experiencing. Like that, those coming together, that like what you saw on your run. Like that's like, oh yeah, that's God mode. These working together as they're designed to, as they actually want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I started taking an orientation toward my events and things that I create as a well-produced improvisation. Like, goodness knows, I love producing. I love organizing. I love to like create the container in like a really right hemisphere way, but like the left hemisphere is like stoked when I'm in that mode. And then we get to play in it. And it's like, thank goodness for that to allow for, right? Allow for the, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
We didn't even get to the questions.
I know. What's everybody's time like? Fawn, do you have a hard stop at our?
No, I'm good.
I'm wondering, what if we like turn this, because we have certain time agreements with our editor for like certain episodes. Do we just want to make this a 2-parter and go into questions and make that a 30-minute one, Kev?
That works for me.
Okay. I would love to explore some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. So we'll wrap this one here. And then next week, more.
More
B-sides.
questions.